Okay, so because I'm a giant nerd, which you probably expected, I did put together a PowerPoint presentation all about what I did on my summer holiday. Um, and I don't know, I figured we might be of interest to you guys. It might not. I don't know. But I figured I'd try it out and see how it goes. Because you got figured everyone's probably at least sort of interested in amusement parks. And maybe someone's interested in what the state of Cedar Point is in 2021. You know, I have thoughts and opinions about roller coasters, and thought I'd like to share them all with you. So, this was a trip that we went on Tuesday, which feels like forever ago now. Um, oh, you're gonna go to CP after you get back? Awesome, yeah. Well, maybe you'll have some good information in this little chat here. Hopefully, I can remember everything that we did. This was almost a week ago now. But let's go through what went on. So just as a little bit of background on me, if you don't remember from earlier, I live in Ohio, as Prater mentioned. And I grew up about an hour and 45 minutes away from Cedar Point. And my dad's family is from Cleveland, and my uncle is a teacher, so they would get season passes like every summer and go. So we would always go with them once a year when I was a kid, which was pretty awesome. Stopped going quite as much when I started going to high school, and then college I moved to Columbus, which is even farther away. So I haven't been going quite as much lately. I think the last time I went was 2016. Oh gosh, I was gonna look this up and now I've forgotten. I think it was 2016. It must have been. Because before this trip, I had ridden on everything except for Steel Vengeance, which opened in 18. Yeah, 2016 was the last time I'd gone. So it had been 5 years for me, which is a long time for me between trips. And I don't feel like a whole lot's changed since then, aside from Steel Vengeance obviously being the big one. And a couple small things about the park have changed since then, but nothing that's really super interesting. But we got tickets for one day, just general admission. We don't do like gold pass or fast pass or any of that crap. We're just general admission. We got a couple tickets for free from the Red Cross because my dad donates blood a lot, so that helped. But they're always like, general admission tickets. 6 of us in our party, which is a lot. I don't think I'd recommend going with that many people unless you're willing to split up your party quite a lot. It's hard to get 6 people to coordinate and everything. 2 of them had to leave early in the day because one of them had to drive all the way back to Cincinnati, which is probably like a 3 or 4 hour drive. Not fun, especially after a long day walking around. Yeah, we got there. I think park opens at 9. Ride started at 10, so we got there at like 9:30. We used to get there even earlier, which was incredibly pointless, and I think we've realized that there's no point in getting there early because there's nothing you can do except walk around and look at stuff. But when we did get there, my brother, who was with us, he has a friend who said, first thing you want to do, go to Steel Vengeance. So we run to the back of the park right at 9:30 when we get there, hoping to get to Steel Vengeance when it opens up at 10. Turns out it's closed. It was closed all morning. So I think everyone else in the park had that same thought, and everyone else in the park decided to go to Maverick as their first ride. So we did too. Which, it's, since it's pretty close, but it was fine. Maverick is one of the best rides at the park. Some people say it's the best ride at the park, and I wouldn't think that's too hot of a take. We did wind up waiting for almost an hour and a half, which is a long time. Early, if you're waiting for any coaster more than an hour, I feel like at the Cedar Point these days, it's too long. But it was particularly busy today. We got there it was a Tuesday after Independence Day. So we figured nobody would be going. We were there by a pretty quiet park. It was not the case. It was super packed. Did not help that there were like 3 rides closed all day. Wicked Twister was closed all day. Gatekeeper has been closed for like a month now, and it was still closed. I don't know when it'll be fixed. Probably might not even be fixed by the end of the year. Who knows? But yeah, so everyone was waiting for Maverick first thing in the morning. I've been on it a lot. I've been going on it like every year since it opened up in 2007. This time we elected to go for backseat. I don't know if there's a particular reason. I think we usually go on front seat for most rides. We go for back this time. It was great though. Highly recommended. It's got short trains, so it really doesn't make a huge difference. I don't feel like. But as you can see, I also did give fun little excitement, intensity, and nausea ratings for each ride. You know, fit with the roller coaster tycoon theme. They're very arbitrary, and they are my own. But this one definitely scores very high in excitement. I think it's definitely crawled up in my rankings over the years to be definitely 100% in the top 3 coasters in the park, right? As of right now, maybe even higher. We'll see later. We are gonna have there is a ranking at the very end, which I'll go through. But yes, definitely not a trip to Cedar Point will be complete without a ride on the Maverick. So yes, they're all rated. This one is easy A+. Very good ride. A while ago, I did a recreation of this in RCT. A lot of fun. Very difficult to do, but it's a fun coaster because it's low to the ground, very fast, lots of little twists and turns, whip you around. A lot going on it. Very fun ride. Definitely check it out. So after that, after waiting in line for an hour and a half and being miserable, we decided to wait in line for another 2 hours and be even more miserable on Millennium Force. This one I've ridden this one even more than Maverick because I've been going out since it opened in 2000. We waited 3 hours in the rain in 2000 when the year it opened. That was no fun. This is where the day started to get extra miserable because it was very hot. We were promised clouds. There were no clouds. And it was like, we were also promised like mid 80s, low 80s as the temperature. It turned out to be like 94, 95 or something that day. It was awful. 2 people in our party had to leave the line because one of them was about to collapse from heat exhaustion or something. We saw one family kept to carry their kid out of line because they had like fainted from the heat. We saw EMS people walk around. It was bad news all around. Bring your water when you go to Cedar Point, for the love of God. There's not a lot of shade in this line, and it's miserable if it's a hot, sunny day. Yeah, not a good time on this one. However, the ride itself, always a classic. This is another one where it would not be a complete day at Cedar Point if you didn't ride this one. This was my favorite ride at the park for a very long time. Maverick has kind of unseated it lately a little bit. It's kind of a toss-up. It's still one of my absolute favorites, though. Easy A on Millennium Force, obviously. I think over the years, it's gotten a little bit rougher than it used to. It was very smooth when it first opened, and I think Intamin coasters don't really age that well compared to B&Ms. And Millennium Force is definitely not an exception to that. So a little shaky. Definitely not unrideable, of course, but excellent stuff. Oh yeah, they were sunburn territory for sure. We sunblocked up twice, once in the morning and once at lunchtime, and that was sufficient, I think. I did get a little bit burned on like my neck where I didn't sunblock properly, but yeah. Prater, it depends on what day you go. I think what I read was on Reddit, there's like a daily thread where everyday people talk about how the park is on the Cedar Point subreddit. And we went on Tuesday. I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, those days were all much better for no reason at all. Like they weren't nearly as crowded. And I have no idea why. That's just how it is sometimes. But yes, I didn't put it in my list of final thoughts at the end. One of them was drink your water, but the other one should be always friggin' bring sunblock for sure. Because you're standing out in the sun all day long, and the shades that are over top of the line, like you can see in this one photo, they don't do a whole lot. They're helpful, but there's not as many of them as there should be. So, also these two photos, I took these. I was taking photos so I could see how long our lines were because they're, you know, they're time stamped, so they're not the greatest photos. I don't even know who these people are. They weren't people in our party. But anyway, yeah, so that was Millennium Force. Always a good ride. Definitely fun in the backseat. I think I'd ridden in the backseat before. I don't remember how long it had been, but it's definitely a very different experience because these are very long trains, like 9 cars a train. So you get a very different experience front versus back. And it really whips you around the hills in the backseat. It was a lot of fun. I do recommend it. Plus you can like turn around and look at the chain lift behind you, and it's very scary. So all right, so after that, it was lunchtime because at that point we'd been waiting in line for 4 hours. So it was like 2 o'clock. I hadn't eaten anything since dinner the day before. I hadn't had anything to drink, barely, except for like the couple water fountains that were around the park. So we were all dying about 2 o'clock, 2:30. Far too late to be eating lunch, but that's how the schedule worked out. What are you gonna do? We went to the parking lot. We got our packed lunch of sandwiches and leftovers, and it was pretty good. I give the parking lot lunch an excitement rating of 2.9. You know, it was fine. I was glad to be eating, but it wasn't the most exciting thing I could have eaten. Intensity 2.4. I ate probably a little too fast, so I was just happy to be eating anything at all. Probably could have taken a little bit easier on that one. So that one's on me personally. And nausea rating of 1.1, also probably from slamming food down my throat a bit too quickly. When I was, you know, very thirsty and having some heat problems, as we all were, but you know, that's how it goes. I'd give our lunch a C. You know, it was fine. Wouldn't necessarily recommend our particular lunch, but you know, your experience will be different. Yeah, what would you have to do to max the lunch stats? I don't know what you want to do to maximize the nausea stats on lunch. Don't think about that one too hard. Hey Creeper, how's it going? All right, anyway, so after that, we managed to have a pretty okay afternoon as far as ride capacity goes. We did the 2 big Intamin ones in the morning, and we hit all the big B&M ones in the afternoon, turned out, just kind of coincidentally. Hey, Anoncat, how's it going? So, Rougarou, I had only been on this one time before, if you don't count it as Mantis. Hot take, Mantis is a much better name than Rougarou. The theming was better. I'm kind of sad they changed the name, but I understand why they did it for like marketing reasons when they changed the trains. The train upgrade, so Mantis was what was called Open 1996. It used to be a stand-up coaster, if you're not familiar. It was fine, but stand-up trains are pretty intense, not super comfortable. Very unique ride experience. So if you do find a stand-up train, there are still a few out there in America I know that still exist. I do recommend trying it out just to see what it's like, even if it's not the super most fun thing ever. Hates her man zone. Yes, that is very true. I remember, you know, we would try to do it so that you crouch down a tiny bit and then the seats lock and then you can stand a bit more, so there's a little bit of gap there between the seat and your body, which helps out a lot for that. Because you're like on bicycle seats is what you're sitting on. Not the most comfortable. Floorless trains, a bit more normal, very comfortable. So this is now just a very normal B&M floorless coaster. Not much to say about it. It's still a good ride. It's less unique, but I think the switch to floorless trains was an improvement. Still pretty intense though, surprisingly. A lot of tight turns at the ends. The little corkscrew and the little loop are still pretty intense. You take them pretty quickly. But I still like it. I would definitely try to get on this one if you are in the park and you're looking for something to do. It's still a good ride, so a B for this one for sure. All right, and then after that, we headed back towards the front of the park to do the other 2 big B&Ms. Next one we did was Valravn. This is a bit of a controversial take, I know, but I think Valravn is a good coaster. I know this one is kind of like a love it or hate it. Some people think it's awful. I've only ridden it twice. This is my second ride in Valravn. My first ride, I didn't like it. I thought it was boring and short and kind of dumb. Second time I rode it, I thought it was great. I'm not really sure what changed. Might have been the seating. I sat closer to the ends. So you got really wide trains, right? They're like, yeah, nausea is higher than excitement, isn't it? I didn't think about that. The numbers are arbitrary. They're, they're in the hundreds places, right? It doesn't mean anything, but well, it kind of does. But so they're like 8 seats wide. I was sitting on the very end, or second to the end. I don't remember what seat I was in the first one, but I think the farther you are towards the end of the seat, far left or far right, you get a bit more forces because your cars are moving more compared to the middle cars. Your seats are moving more compared to the middle seats. That's my guess. But that being said, even though, yeah, it's a short ride, I think I've heard some people say this one is forceless, and that thing has total crap. This one had plenty of forces on it. I thought it was a perfectly fine ride. Yeah, it's a little short. The vertical drop thing is a bit of a novelty that, once you've done it once, it kind of, like, what's the point? It's not as exciting or novel after that first ride. But that being said, I think it was still fine. I gave it a B. B is still a good grade. If I didn't ride this one on a trip, I wouldn't be the most sad person ever, but it would still be okay. I would still try to ride it if I could. If the line's short enough, an hour, we waited an hour for it, which is a little on the long side, but not terrible. Yeah, so that was Valravn. After that, we walked just down the street to the good old Raptor right next door. Raptor also used to be my favorite ride at the park when I was a kid before Millennium opened, and it's still a fantastic ride. Still holds up. Hey, Allie Kate, thanks for the host. How you doing today? How's my week? Well, I'm telling you about how my week was right now, with the coaster report. The rest of my week was pretty good though, but this Raptor is also one of the rides where if I didn't go on it on a day, to your point, I would be kind of sad. Built in. Oh no, I didn't change the thing. This is definitely not a dive coaster from 2016. Raptor's built in 1994, not 2016. And okay, if I can change it from here. Oh man, I totally can. Okay. 1944, yeah, right. Okay. So, and this one, unlike Millennium Force, maybe, I think it's aged really well. This ride still is very smooth, still gives a great ride, a lot of good forces on it. It's a good time. One caveat is that you pretty much have to get front seat on this one because of the way the trains are, since they're the inverted trains. If you're not in front seat, you just have someone else's car in front of you and you can't see anything, and it's kind of silly. And that's just how it goes. But for us, the way they were loading the trains, the house was empty, the station was empty, and you leave the queue, you go into the station, and they say how many people you have, and they direct you to a row. But there's usually there's like a long line for the front, but because they're doing it this way, they're loading it this way, you can see in the second photo down here, there's nobody in the station. So this front row line is empty. So we didn't have to wait extra for front. So if they're loading it that way, then absolutely go on front if you can. But yeah, this is still a fantastic ride. A-, solid score for Raptor. Would recommend. Definitely try to get on that if you can. Unfortunately, since it's at the front of the park, a lot of people go on it like first ride of the day. So wait till the afternoon or evening when it's a little bit less crowded in front. You should have no problem getting on. We waited 56 minutes, which is a little longer than average, I would say. You can probably do this in half an hour if you're lucky. All right, dinner time. I think it was like 7 o'clock by this point, which is a little late for me to be eating dinner, but that's how it happens. We decided to go to a new restaurant at Cedar Point. We usually don't eat in at Cedar Point. Usually we do 2 meals in the parking lot. We're switching it up. We're doing things different. There is a new restaurant this year called the Wild Turnip, which is a vegetarian and vegan place. I hadn't heard of it. I'm not vegetarian myself, not really, but several people in our party were. And, you know, I eat vegetarian like 80% of the time anyway, so. I got this, I didn't write down what it was called I got, but it was like it's called a power salad bowl. It had like lettuce and strawberries and avocado and nuts and all kinds of stuff in it. But it was really, really good. I was actually surprised at how good this bowl was. It doesn't look this great in the photo, but I highly recommend this restaurant out. Other people in our party got like the veggie burger, which they also said was really good. So, Wild Turnip, highly recommended. I give it an excitement rating of 7.5, which is really good. Intensity of 4.6 because of all the stuff that was in the bowl. I was just floored by how many different things they crammed into one bowl. It was pretty amazing. Nausea rating of only 0.14. That's pretty low for for dinner, but you know, B+ for Wild Turnip. Good stuff. If you're looking for a healthier option in the park, I highly recommend it. Salad 1 looks too intense for me. Yeah, it's only medium on the intensity scale. Come on, I can handle some intense salads, so don't worry about me. But if you can't handle an intense salad, stay away. All right. Then, the good stuff. Finally, Steel Vengeance was running. It was off all morning. It was closed for maintenance. We weren't sure what was going on. There was no news. We were just watching the coaster all day to see what was happening. No one knew. The Q Times website said it's closed all day. But I think sometime in the afternoon while we were at the front of the park, it started up, and we were able to get a ride on it with a wait time of only 53 minutes, which I was shocked at because the wait times for this were like 2 hours all day long. We got in and out of there in less than an hour. It was pretty amazing. Plus, if you see, front seat. No extra wait for front, as far as I know. I think there were like 2 people in front of us. Maybe 2 trains worth of people in front of us for front seat. Totally worth waiting for. Unlike Millennium Force, where the front seat line is like 40 people long and you gotta wait like an extra half hour for front seat. This is not the case. It was just a couple extra minutes. Totally worth it. But if you couldn't guess from these stats, excitement rating off the charts, 10.4. This thing lives up to the hype and then some. I was amazed at how good this ride is. So I built this one in RCT. I thought I knew the layout pretty well. I thought I could follow along what was going on with the coaster as we were riding it. I could not. It's crazy. You're going so fast, and there's so much stuff going on around you. There's wood supports flying by your head. There's all these twists and turns. I couldn't keep track of what was going on. Speed was good. Forces were incredible. The inversions were a hell of a lot of fun. This thing is fantastic. Oh, you missed this earlier, but no, it's not the London Eye. It is, in fact, Geauga Lake. If you missed this earlier, this is my Geauga Lake shirt. A defunct theme park in Northeast Ohio, if you're unaware. They started selling these shirts from the Cleveland Clothing Company a couple weeks ago, and I had to get one. But this is the Ferris wheel and the park entrance for Geauga Lake. Anywho. Oh, I didn't mean to click on that. But yeah, anyway, fantastic ride, A+. Definitely gotta check this thing out. Lives up to the hype and then some. Cannot recommend Steel Vengeance enough. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this one. Even though I knew I was gonna like it. I was surprised how much I liked it, so. Okay, after that, it was getting late in the day. But when it's late, you can get a lot of stuff in because there's a couple of rides that have basically no ride, no line. We're able to walk right on. Magnum XL-200 is always one of those rides. If most of the other good stuff is open, you can walk right on a Magnum, which is great because I love Magnum. Most of the air coasters at Cedar Point have not aged well. Magnum is not really one of them. I think it has held up despite being older than me, barely. It's still a lot of fun. I think part of the fun is because it's 200 feet. It's pretty tall, but like it's an aero coaster. It's thin. It's still kind of rickety, not super. It's like, it's a little shaky. It's a little shady. Sounds like a performance bill. It kind of does. You're not wrong. Um, but that being said, definitely this is one that you should always be able to ride if you can, and I recommend it because it's a lot of fun. Definitely a later in the day park because it does beat you up a little bit, especially at the end. We rode backseat this time, which pretty good. Like the Millennium, it's got longer trains, so the backseat really whips you over those hills. When we were riding, there was a guy sitting 2 seats in front of us who was apparently a ride operator, not for Magnum, but I think he used to operate it or something, but he would ride Magnum every night when he was done with work, and apparently the third row from the back is the best seat. So we were almost at the best seat. But back row still pretty good. But yeah, Magnum is still think it's a good coaster. A- for Magnum. That might, I don't know how controversial of an opinion that is. I know a lot of, like I said, a lot of aero coasters have not aged well. They're not fun rides, but I think Magnum still is pretty good. And then very last ride of the day, we managed to get on Wicked Twister. We wanted to make sure we hit this one because there are rumors, not confirmed fact, but there are rumors that this is going to be Wicked Twister's last season. They might demolish it at the end of the year or remove it from the park. We don't know. It is a rumor. We figured we should probably hit it while we're there anyway, and because it was a walk-on pretty much all day, not a huge deal. That being said, I'm glad it was the last ride of the day because I did not enjoy it at all. If you couldn't tell by my grade of D+. Yes, we did ride Steel Vengeance one and only. It was 2 coasters ago. A+ for Steel Vengeance. Excellent stuff. But yeah, Wicked Twister, we rode backseat for this one. I don't think it really makes much of a difference if you ride front or back. But for some reason, this one really messed me up. Like, I didn't have any issues with any other coaster as far as, like, nausea or anything. Usually I'm really good at that kind of stuff. But for some reason, this one really messed me up, and I don't know why. I've ridden it plenty of times before. I've ridden similar coasters before. Jog Lake had a very similar coaster that I used to ride all the time and was just fine. But I don't know. I don't know what happened this year. I did not enjoy my time on Wicked Twister. I thought it was... It made me feel weird, and I didn't like it. So, it is silly looking, you're right. Well, I think this is like a novelty ride. Once you've done it once, and you understand the experience, there's really no reason to go on it again. If they did tear it down, if the rumors, which are probably not true, if those were true, and they did remove it, I would not really care, to be honest. I didn't like it, and I won't miss it if it leaves. That being said, I know some people do like it. My brother who's with us rode it twice in a row because he's crazy, and they let him go on it twice without even waiting in line because there was nobody waiting. But he liked it, so I guess your mileage may vary. I didn't care for it. But yeah, that's the reason I had to wait. I remember we went the year it opened, or maybe the year after, and I remember waiting a long time for this during its first year or two of operation, and there were long lines because people were like, "Whoa, it's this cool new thing. Let's try it out." And then pretty quickly, those line waits fell off because people were like, "Okay, I know what it's like. I'm good. I don't need to ride this ever again." So yeah. So that was where we ended our day. We had our drive home after that. Featuring midges. Lake Erie, where Cedar Point is located, is infested with midges at night. They get all over your car, and then when you open your car doors, they get into your car, and you have midges all inside your car on the drive home, on the 1 hour and 45-minute drive home. So that was not fun. Did not like. Also was very tired, obviously, at this point, because we've been out in the hot sun all day, walking around. Don't recommend. Excite rating of 0. Horrible drive. Intensity of 3.4 because of all the midges. Nausea rating very high, 6.3. All those midges. Did not like. It really was. Do not recommend. It's weird because like bug spray, I don't feel like we really needed it at any point during the day. Except right at night when all the bugs come out. I don't know why they come out right at night to wreck your evening, but that's what happens. But yeah, So that was our day. All in all, not our best day at Cedar Point. Probably one of the worst days we had at Cedar Point, mostly because of the awful morning we had with the crowds and the heat. It was not good. Things picked up a little bit in the evening, but by then everyone was kind of grumpy, so it didn't really balance out. It was okay. I mean, I won't say I didn't enjoy my time, because I did. I'm glad I went and rode all the coasties, but this is a very personal experience, so your mileage may vary. I know some people went back later in that very same week, according to Reddit, and had a great time. So it's all very subjective. All right, here are rides that I did not ride. I'm not 100% sure why I put this thing. Oh, I put this slide in here because I wanted to give ratings for all the other rides. These are all the other credits that you could get at Cedar Point that we did not get. As I mentioned at the top, Gatekeeper closed. It currently has an issue with its chain had snapped like a month ago, a couple weeks ago. I think they're in the process of getting it fixed, but we don't know if it'll even be open before the season's over. I'm kind of bummed about that because Gatekeeper is actually a really good ride, and I've only been on it like once or twice, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. I think one year we rode it like 2 or 3 times because there was no line, but it's only been a couple times, so I don't know it that well. And I would have liked to get on it again, but I could not. Top Thrill Dragster, did not ride. It was closed all day long. No one knows why, but it's notoriously had out of service a lot. Like, it has downtime all the time. It's one of those rides where if it's open and you want to ride it, you better go if you see it open, because it could close at any point. That being said, I'm not a huge fan of Top Thrill Dragster. I think like Wicked Twister, it's kind of a novelty coaster. I know some people disagree. Some people, it's their favorite ride in the park, and that's totally fine. But for me personally, I don't really get it. Like, sure, you go really fast and you go really high, but then it's over, and there's not really much to it aside from that. So it's not my thing. I know some people really like it, and that's fine. You're allowed to like what you like, and that's totally okay. Blue Streak, we did not have time to ride. I'm kind of bummed about that because I do like Blue Streak a lot. Now that Main Streak is closed, it's the only operating wooden coaster in the park, so you gotta have some respect for Blue Streak for that. I do like that coaster quite a bit. It's also very old. It was built in like 64, I think. So it's a bit of a rough time, but I still think it's fun to ride, and it's just a good little piece of coaster history that you gotta have in your day if you can. Usually there's no line for it, but we didn't get to it today. I think because the lines were long everywhere. Blue Streak had a pretty long line most of the day, which is a bit of a bummer, but what can you do? Same thing goes for Sea Creek Mine Ride. Not a great coaster. It's an Aero Mine Ride, but it's still fun. I haven't been on it in ages. I don't think the last like 2 or 3 times I had managed to ride it, but it's something that I would, if we'd had 2 days at the park, I definitely would have wanted to try to ride it, because, you know, it's not bad, definitely. Similarly for Gemini. Gemini is also, I think Gemini's a little boring. I know some people really like it. We didn't have really time for it. Not much to say about that one. It's a aero racing coaster, and it's kind of boring-ish. Pipe Scream is on this list. Did you know Pipe Scream is a credit? It counts on coaster credits. It's not on RCDB, but it is on Coaster Count, and I have never ridden it. It was built like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. Yeah, no rating because I have not been on it. It's a Zamperla Disco, so it's one of those like there's like a single bit of track that goes up and down a little wave, and there's a car on it that goes, you know, back and forth. Not a whole lot to it. Probably not very exciting. And I had never been on it because I didn't really know it exists, because when we walk past that part of the park, it's across from Gemini, I think. There's a bunch of other little flat rides there that I kind of ignore and don't even think about being there. So it's just kind of, I've never really thought much about it. So maybe one day I'll go on it, but definitely not a high priority. Power Tower, I haven't been on Power Tower in years. That one's kind of like Top Thrill, or like it goes up very high, and that's about it. It's not super exciting. It does look very nice in the evening with all the lights on, so I can't fault it for that. Corkscrew and Iron Dragon, they're just not good coasters that we usually don't care about and we skip. I have been on Iron Dragon like twice in my whole life, maybe tops. You know, I've been going there for 20 plus years. I don't know how many times I've ridden anything because I don't keep track, but I think Iron Dragon has got to be my lowest ridden coaster. Probably only twice. Lower than Corkscrew, even though the fact I hate Corkscrew more than I dislike Iron Dragon. But yeah, don't recommend those two, which leads us into my ride rankings. Maybe this is the moment you've been waiting for, maybe not. But counting down from 15, I think there are 16 official coasters because a lot of places count in Gemini twice because it's a racing coaster. Who cares? Corkscrew definitely at the bottom of my list. I will probably never ride this again unless I have a really good reason to, and I don't foresee that happening ever. It is just not a good ride. It has not aged well. It is like an old Aero, like one of the original Aero corkscrews built in I don't know what year. It is not like one of those rides, Rusty, but that I would ride it if it were. It's an old Aero corkscrew. You got a loop, you got two corkscrews. It is the roughest ride I've ever been on. Maybe. It's up there though. It is not fun. It will hurt. It is painful. I don't recommend it. Hopefully it looks really good in the park because the corkscrews like straddle the midway and you walk right under them, which is really cool. It's a really cool centerpiece kind of thing, but it is not a fun ride. So I don't feel bad about saying that I hate it and I'll never ride it again. So Wicked Twister talked about already. I mean, I kind of talked about all these already, but bottom half of my list, not really much to say. Again, if I didn't ride any of these rides at a day at the park, I wouldn't be too upset about it. Oh yeah, there you go. That the Marcel half corkscrew. At least that one, at least if you did go on it, it would be very short. Good throughput. All right, middle of the pack. Probably no surprises here, no hot takes. I think Raptor is probably a bit higher on my list than most people would, but I am not going to apologize for that because I think Raptor's a great ride, as I mentioned. Placement of Gatekeeper is a bit iffy because, like I said, I've only ridden this one a couple times. I would love to ride it more. Hopefully they can get it fixed up before I go next, but I probably won't go again until next year. Because I did enjoy it the couple times I did manage to ride it, but I don't remember it very well. But yeah, like I said, the B&M, the three big B&M coasters, all very good. Well, I guess four. Valravn, Rougarou, Gatekeeper, Raptor, all good, and continue to be good. Like Raptor is almost 30 years old now and still really rocking it. All right, top three. There are three coasters we have been missing, and here we go. Number 3 on my list is Millennium Force. It pains me to do this. It pains me because it has been my top coaster at Cedar Point for so long. But now it's down to just 3. Hey Nick. I'm sad I don't have those emotes, but yes, Millennium Force has been demoted to 3, and it pains me. But that being said, still excellent ride. Always will ride, never won't ride. Number 2, Maverick, which means number 1, still Vengeance. With only one ride, and I know this is probably premature, but with only one ride under my belt, it has topped the list. I gushed about it a little bit already, but it's fantastic. You gotta ride it. If that's the only ride you ride all day, I mean that'd be really disappointing if it were the only ride you rode all day. But you gotta ride it. It's so good. Hybrid coasters living up to the hype. At least this one does. I haven't ridden a single other one. This one definitely does. So yeah, I don't think this list is particularly controversial, but yeah, there you go. There's my rankings. With that, I have this blank slide here for general thoughts. I don't know what I was going to say in particular, but that being said, it was a great time ish compared to a day sitting at work doing nothing. not doing nothing, at work working. Not one of our greatest days this year, point, like I said, because of the heat, because of the lines. We tried really hard to mitigate that stuff, and it didn't really happen. But what can you do? It's luck of the draw. 6-hour wait for Steel Vengeance. Yeah, I believe it. Like I said earlier, I remember when Millennium opened, it was at least 3 hours. But I was, that was 20 years ago now, so it's hard to say for sure. It could have even been longer. I would do Steel Vengeance twice in a row. It was intense. I probably wouldn't feel too good after twice in a row. I probably would want to do it with something in a break. Maybe once in the morning, once at night. We rode it at night. Dusk is like the best time to ride a roller coaster, no matter which one. I don't have a particular reason why. It's just, it's a little bit dark, so you can't quite see where you're going, but then you got all like the fun lights and stuff. All that stuff makes for a much better coaster experience. And we rode, Steel Vengeance and Magnum at night. Those are great rides at night. Especially when top of the hill at Magnum, you get to, look out on the park and see all the lights and stuff. It's a lot of fun. yeah, exactly, Rusty. The wait, but if you do Steel Vengeance twice in a row, the wait in between when you're waiting for the second time, yeah, that's enough recovery time. I needed like that whole hour 45-minute car ride to sit on my stomach from Wicked Twister, which I don't know what that says about me, because I didn't have a problem with anything else during the day. Maybe it was just the culmination of all the rides over the course of the day, like eventually like caught up to me when we did Wicked Twister last. So I don't know. Oh, I have bullet points on this. That's why this slide is blank. Number 1, don't go if it's hot. It was so hot. It was like I said, it was 95 degrees, sunny, no clouds. Bad news. It was sad. No first aid stalls. There are first aid stalls, actually, and there are EMS people that will come to your aid if you are dying. Because we saw them, because that's how bad it was. Don't go if it's crowded. Again, we tried and we failed. We thought the middle of the week after holiday would be a great time to go. We were wrong. There are sites, q-times.com. We're using that site on the day of and before to try to check crowd times. Didn't work out so well. I think the best is like beginning of the season before school lets out is probably best. Maybe, I don't know. But this year was weird though, because they had like some staffing issues, I think, at the beginning of the season. $20 umbrellas. I bet their umbrellas are more than $20 if I had to guess. I didn't actually see any umbrellas while I was there. I saw plenty of t-shirts. I didn't check for umbrella stands. Don't go to a park in 2021. I guess that's the one takeaway, because this year was weird. Like, everyone didn't go in 2020 because of the pandemic, obviously. A lot of people were like, I'm not going to the park this year. It's not really safe, all that stuff. And they're right to do so, probably. Everyone in my party is vaccinated and everything, so we were good to go. Plus, you're kind of, you're outside, even although you're kind of crowded up with people in lines, which is no good. Anyway, that being said, everyone who didn't go in 2020 went in 2021. We had tickets that were supposed to be good in 2020 that were extended to go to be good in this year. And so did probably 1,000 million other people. So this year is a bad year, I feel like, to go to Cedar Point because of that, because of the weirdness with the pandemic and everything. Can't speak for any other park. I am going to try to go to Kings Island here this year. I don't think there are going to be that many problems because it's a smaller park, fewer rides, less people going. I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe next year things will be a bit more normal if the world hasn't caught on fire and blown up by then. We'll have to wait and see. But if you can wait till next year, I don't know. Maybe things will get better in the months to come. I can't say. I'm not an expert. I'm just a general public chucklehead who doesn't know what he's talking about, talking to people on the internet about roller coasties. So what do I know? Point number 4, eat some breakfast. I'm not going to stop you, Prater, and I hope you have a good time. I really do, because I'd be very sad if you didn't. Maybe by the time you go, it'll be better. I really can't say. Eat some breakfast. I did not eat breakfast and I was bummed about it. I usually don't eat breakfast. I usually eat like an early lunch. But it was not a normal day, obviously. And I regret it. Should have had like a banana or yogurt before I left or something, because I hadn't eaten since like five or six the night before. It's a long time to go without eating when you're walking around all day and it's hot. So, and the most important point, drink some gosh dang water. I do it like every 30 seconds. You can see me doing it right now. Good golly, water is delicious and you should drink some. And we were very sad that we didn't have very much of it in the morning. And so was everyone else who was fainting due to heat. So yeah, bring some water. Yes, they do cost a lot of money at parks. They have those horribly expensive dispensing machines, vending machines with pop and water. They're like $4 a bottle, whatever. And when we were on Millennium, not on Millennium, waiting in line for Millennium Force during the worst part of the day, my brother jumped out of line to look at those vending machines to try to see if he could get something. And they were all out at like 11 or 12. They were already all out. It was bad. In the evening, we had like a bottle of water, something like this we brought from the car and filled up at the drinking fountains around the park, which is really the way to go. Problem being you can't take it on a ride, so what do? You have somebody hold it, or you put it in a locker or hide it in your pocket. That's not a good idea. Don't do that. Water. This presentation is brought to you by water. Drink some water. It's good for you. It's delicious. It keeps you alive. And I like it a lot. I recommend drinking some water. I think that's the end of my presentation. Let me double check here. It is the end of my presentation. So yeah, pop, like Mountain Dew and stuff like that, because it's so sugary, it doesn't really hydrate you the same way water does. The sugar and the caffeine is really not good for you when you're standing out in the heat. I'm not a dietitian or a biologist or any of that crap. But that being said, definitely try to lean towards water if you can. Yeah, this stream is sponsored by water. I'm getting paid by Big Water here. Stay hydrated, boys and girls and everyone else. All right, so that was my presentation about what I did on my holiday weekend. I hope you all enjoyed it very much.